Before we get started, I just want to go over our standard rules for our critical conversations. This is being recorded, so there will be a copy of this posted to President Sisson's intranet site where you can access all past recordings of our critical conversations. We're also going to have chat turned off during the presentation portion of today's session, and it will be opened back up once our speakers are finished. President Sisson encourages you to please ask your questions publicly in the chat or raise your little emoticon hand, and we will answer the questions as they are received. And I will now kick it over to Phil.
Thanks, Beth. Good afternoon, everybody. Great to see you. Here we are in August already. Hard to believe, and hope that you've had a somewhat successful summer and that you've had a chance to get away a little bit, have some vacation time, a little R&R, and an opportunity to rejuvenate for the fall. Promises to be a busy one. We've had an incredibly busy summer. Beth, we can just flip through a couple of slides and then we'll get right to the topic at hand. So first and foremost, I want to say thank you to all of you who RSVP'd and who participated in the Employee Appreciation Cookout. It was a great opportunity for Dr. Nicole and Dr. Maggioni to really get to know some folks, meet your two new VPs, and at the same time, spend some time outside on an absolutely beautiful, it was a picture-perfect day. And you can tell that people seem like they had good food, good conversation, and an opportunity to spend some time with each other, which is really what community here is all about. So thank you for your participation in that cookout. There you can see a picture of all of us, and thanks, Pat, and getting that view from up from the floor above. I also want to, many of you had the opportunity at that time to not only meet the two new VPs, but to meet our newest person that's working in essential needs with Jonathan Crockett. This is Isabel Hanley. Isabel was overwhelmed when she and I talked about the opportunity to do a book drive and to do it at the same time that we were having the cookout, especially for children's books. It was really great. I mean, some of you brought in your favorites and had classics, and some of you made sure you had gently used books that were available at home, and it gave you a chance to clean some of those out. But just look at all the stacks of books that were gathered for that purpose. They'll get repurposed by our students. And we know how important reading is to development, and just a really exciting way to introduce a new employee to the generosity of Middlesex Community College. So thank you all for participating, and thank you for those of you who are able to continue to participate in the Children's Book Drive. I will tell you that book drive is not over. Isabel is there and happy to take your books if you forgot them on that day, or you have an opportunity to stroll through the supermarket or anywhere you're visiting at a bookstore, and you can pick up an extra book. I think the idea here is that we want to do what we can to make sure that these books get distributed in the Swoops Market on both of our campuses. So thank you all again for your generosity and for a great day. Since we like to say thank you a lot, and we will have our faculty back with us officially from being off contract in September, we'll see our faculty back. They will have convocation on the first day of classes, but we want to make sure we have an official reception to actually welcome our new vice presidents, Dr. Maggioni and Dr. Harris. And we'll be inviting some community members to be a part of that conversation as well, since our community partners are so important to us here at Middlesex. So please save this date, Wednesday, September 23rd. This is to make sure that we don't interact with too many of our already established meetings on the FSA calendar and the academic calendar. So it's Wednesday, September 23rd from 3 to 5. In the afternoon, we'll have a nice reception at the Nesmith House. There'll be a shuttle that will go from the Cowan Center that'll be available between the two campuses, and it shows you how it's going to run there. There's a link for you, and we think this link works. We just had to make a quick change recently, so you can try it out. But as long as you RSVP by 3 p.m. on Wednesday, September 16th, we'll be really excited and happy to see you at the Nesmith House, and hopefully Sue and Nicole will have an opportunity to float through and meet a lot of people again on that day if they haven't already met them, but to give them the really official welcome beyond what we did at the Employee Appreciation Cookout. So please put this date on your calendar. That's Wednesday, September 23rd. We really look forward to seeing you all at that welcoming reception. Also want you to know that here's a whole schedule for the open door days. I want to thank people who have come in to spend some time with me. And we've run the gambit from particular individual issues to some really great ideas that we've talked about implementing at the college. And so really appreciate hearing from you individually. We try and do a particular campus and Zoom on these days, but we'll try and be as flexible as we can. Sometimes it's hard to travel back and forth between campuses, so that's why the Zoom option is there. But the next opportunity for an open door day is going to happen at the end of September. That will be in Bedford and on Zoom. So you just want to, send an email out to Angela or give her a call to sign up for a time, or let her know you may have an opportunity to drop by, and we'll do what we can to accommodate you to see you on the 28th. Last thing I'd like to mention is that these critical conversations are a real opportunity for us to share information and answer questions. This is the upcoming schedule for the entire year. Lots to talk about this fall, lots of changes that are happening on the federal landscape, the state landscape, and of course, things that are happening at the college directly here that we've been focusing on over the course of the last couple of years. So always important topics like today's topic. So really appreciate you taking the time. We've had great participation in these critical conversations, and we hope that you find them useful and you find the recordings useful if people aren't able to get to the critical conversation, so they can at least have the most up-to-date information about whatever topic we may be talking about. Today, we're going to talk about what's pretty impressive that's happened here over the last few years. And one of the comments that I made very early on in my inauguration, almost 6 years ago now, was the idea that we would do a lot of reconnecting. And one of the things I mentioned was rebuilding. And we've really focused on some critical projects that had to happen at the institution, some of them a little less sexy than others. It's hard for anyone to see a roof, but they have made a huge difference in the facilities in terms of what we've been doing across the campus. We've made many $1 million in investments. We've always done that, first and foremost, with trying to find money from others, whether it be the state or DCAM or federal grants or opportunities. So kudos to everybody that's been involved with that and our grants folks who have assisted. But there's some really exciting stuff that we have happening, and all of that's happening based on something we did very early on in my presidency, which was a master facilities plan for both campuses and a decarbonization plan specifically for both campuses to reduce our carbon footprint. So today we're going to try and cover a lot of the projects that are currently happening, tell you a little bit about the projects that are coming up, and most importantly, give you as much of an up-to-date piece of information about what's happening with Cowan as we possibly can, because it's a really exciting, multiple projects are happening in that building simultaneously. I do want to thank, first and foremost, everyone who's been inconvenienced during this process. And I think this happens as we've done any of the projects here on campuses, that whether you're in a particular building or you work in a particular area, that you may have over the last few years been inconvenienced by a major project. And I want to thank you for your patience and your resilience and your continued focus on serving students, because that's what we do and it's what we do best. But we want to make sure that what we leave behind are both campuses that are in great physical shape and that have an opportunity to improve all of our physical facilities. And we're working really hard at that. And I want to thank not only our facilities crew, but also two of our leaders on campus that have been essential to that. And Allison and her folks have been working on the sustainability, and she's going to talk more about that today. And Pat Cook and his leadership around a number of major facilities projects here on campus. I will tell you that the information we're going to give to you today is as up to date as it possibly can be, especially with Cowan. There are daily meetings, both at the beginning and the end of the day, with reports about progress. We're really encouraged by the progress that we've made. This has been an incredibly important effort. I know why now no previous president and no one else at the institution ever tried to replace the roof or the HVAC system at Cowan, because it's been a long project in the making and it's inconvenienced a lot of folks. and has been very challenging. On top of that, we added the work on the front entrance for a more user-friendly, ADA-compliant entrance. So lots happening. Again, I want to thank you all for your patience. I know the incredible work that you've done during a time when your office has been inconvenienced. Many of you are living in spaces and working in spaces that are unfamiliar to you, and you've made it work because you've got incredible teams that are doing that. You've dispatched people out to where they need help. People have been living in other offices that are not their own. We've had 2 vice presidents, one who actually hasn't even seen an office that is really hers when she came to campus. So everyone's been doing the best they can to pinch hit for the time. And again, I want to sincerely thank you all for that. And we're going to give you some updates about some exciting decarbonization projects first. Then we're going to give you some updates, and then we'll give you a chance to please ask us as many questions as we may be able to answer. Like any major construction project, it's all about the information we get each and every day about progress. But we are so far along now that we're in an exciting time for the college, and we want you to be as informed as you possibly can be. So at this point, I'm really pleased to turn it over to Vice President Chambers for give you a little bit of information about what's happening with our latest decarbonization effort. So Allie, it's all up to you.
Super. I'll just wait for the slides to come on. Good afternoon, everyone. It is nice to see everybody on screen. Just waiting for some slides to come up. We've got some pretty exciting news. We have solar canopies coming to campus. Oh, I lost it. Thank you for the clapping hands while we wait for the screen to pop back up. So here it comes. The one person I want to give credit to that all of what I will talk about, it has to do with the work that she's done, and she is not here today, but Christina Kelly has been leading the charge on a lot of this work that I'm going to be talking about, this decarbonization and the solar work. And so I just want to really give credit to Christina for this. So if you see her when she's on campus after her well-deserved vacation, please let her know. We appreciate what she's done for us. So we have solar canopies coming to Bedford. We will likely be installing those next summer. So no displacement right now. They're going to be put in the D lot, which if you look at that picture on the top right corner, where you see those blue purple boxes, those will be what they call T-shaped solar canopies that will go over our parking lot. We have been working with a company called Select Energy, and they came and did an audit of the space here in Bedford and helped us identify the most optimal places, depending where they're, what side, north, south, east, west, where they're facing, tree canopies, and all of that. And so D-lot was the most ideal place for these canopies. And so that's where you're going to see these canopies placed. It says B-lot in my slide, my apologies. This system is sized at 643.4 kilowatts, and it will produce 818,000 kilowatts. That's about 40% of Bedford's energy production. So we're getting some coverage there. More on that later. This project at the surface costs about $3.3 million, but in doing so, you make yourself eligible for a federal tax credit that's just under $1 million, and we'll also be applying for a Lead by Example grant. If you ever hear LBE, that's Lead by Example grant, and that will be just short of $1.5 million. So once we receive that grant back and that tax credit back, the total cost on this project is $833,909. And the payback period on the savings we'll have on these solar panels is only 4 years. So in the 25 years that the canopy will yield $4.6 million in energy savings alone, and it creates $2.9 million in state incentive revenues. So that's money that will be right back to us from the state. And it also qualifies us to apply for a second LBE grant up to another $1 million for decarbonization projects. So really creating a lot of opportunity on the other side of this. So it's very exciting. The picture in the far right corner, if you've ever been to the Stone Zoo, that is what one of those solar T canopy looks like. So that will be similar to what you see in the parking lot. Additionally, and this is still in the works, we might also be leasing, it's called a PP&A agreement, in additional solar canopies, and they would be placed up in G lot, correct, Pat? G. And that would cover another 40% of our energy. So you don't get the same state incentives back, but you don't pay for installation costs like the project that I presented in front of you. So still working out some kinks with the state and understanding the energy audits that would come along with it. But this right here, the solar canopies that we will be purchasing, we signed the agreement on it last week, and we should see that in the works. And that is a perfect parlay to the next slide, which is when the lot was closed, B lot was closed. Abby, if you can go to the next slide, please. Abby, are you able to click to the next slide?
On my screen, they're moving, so I'm not sure. Hold on one second. Hang on.
Okay.
Sorry.
Those were images. They're putting in the bearings for those solar canopies, and you guys will take a look at that in a second. But also, in good news, as you probably have noticed in D lot, there are electric vehicle charging stations. So this is also the workings of Christina Kelly working with different vendors throughout the state and kind of putting us on a roadmap to decarbonizing our campus. So there are 4 lots, right, stations as you see them. With this canopy project, we will be investigating adding more wiring for future electric vehicle charging stations. We will be collecting data once the school year or the academic year starts to see usage, if there's enough, do we need more? All of that input will be really essential to applying for this Learn by Example grant. But the charging stations are free to our students, faculty, and staff, and will remain to be. Come September, there will be charging fees for anybody outside visiting campus that is not a student, faculty, or staff. And that's a little bit small way to make a little bit of income, but just rest assured the process might look a little bit different. We're going to be distributing codes, but it will still remain a free benefit to our students, staff, faculty on campus. So that is all I had. We'll briefly go through the slides once they are back up. But that is all I had for today. Just a little bit of good news to start the call.
I'm going to blame the Cowan construction project for the slides not working properly downstairs. So I know that Beth is working with Abby to try to get those squared away. And I just want folks to know, just on a couple of pieces of updates with those charging stations, we do have some down at the facilities building as well here in Bedford for our vehicles, and we have them in Lowell for our vehicles. We are not putting them in the Cowan front parking lot because the city has the charging stations already in the Lower Locks garage. So we didn't need to be adding them to that neck of the woods. So there's Allie's geese. Allie, we don't want the geese down here in Bedford. If we can somehow, let's get those fake coyotes that we can put out on the lawn there to keep the geese off the parking lot, please. If you go to the next slide, you should see the drilling that's occurring. And we apologize because, as Phil stated at the outset, none of these projects are without some pain and suffering. So this week, the D lot down here has been closed for the entire week while they do the borings that are going down about 25 feet into the bedrock across that parking lot. And these are the charging stations that Allie's referring to with the community garden in the background there.
Oh, and also, Pat, sorry to interrupt. Part of the reason that we installed additional charging stations at the facilities building and in the Howe building is The school also has acquired and is on a 3-year plan to acquire electric vehicles. So incorporate some electric vehicles into our fleet. So we purchased 2 in fiscal year 26, with plans for 3. The third one came just after the year turned over, and there will be an additional 3 purchased this year, and I think 2 more in the third year. We continue to evaluate the fleet and what's available, to make sure that the juice is worth the squeeze and the energy savings makes sense for the purchase. But turning over 7 vehicles, 1, 2, 3, 4, 8 vehicles in 3 years. So also exciting stuff.
Okay, next slide, please. We're going to stay down in Bedford first, just to cover up some of the issues that have been happening down here this summer, which I know that many of the people that are directly impacted are aware of, because I've seen the flurry of emails that have been continuing. But as folks know, back on January 27th, we had a kind of a catastrophic leak over in Henderson Hall on the 3rd floor. We lost 8 offices, 2 classrooms, the adjunct space, 4 bathrooms, staircase, and the vestibule. So I am happy to report that as of today, and those photos are you're looking at it from yesterday, we have restored the 2 classrooms 211 and 212, one of which you're seeing there on the left. We bought new furniture for the 8 displaced faculty, and I cannot thank the 8 staffers and faculty who had temporary homes now since January elsewhere within Henderson over in the campus center. We're trying to get everybody back into their spaces as quickly as we can before the semester starts. We bought new furniture, and those 8 offices have been outfitted. Ab, if you go to the next slide, on the left there is the adjunct space, which has been refitted and reopened on the corner of the 2nd floor, and that's classroom 212 on the right, which is also ready for fall classes. The stairwells have been returned to us. The vestibule has been returned, and the entrance into the quad has been reopened. So and the bathroom work is proceeding apace daily, which should have that resolved within the next week or 2. The only thing that will not be restored for the fall semester, which we've been communicating through Marie Toupé and Kim Gonzalez and folks, is classroom 306, which is where the leak occurred. There was some significant structural reworking that has to occur in that spot. We did get some good news last week. We got the microscopes replaced that were damaged as part of the leak, so those would be back in place for the fall semester as well. So thanks for everybody down here on the Bedford side from facilities and IT and from the STEM division, who have been working really since January to get all these classrooms and spaces back online, which like I said, we're on track for, except for that one classroom at ground zero. Next slide, Ed. Okay, so let's go up to Lowell and take a look at what's happening. What you see there is the shell of our entrance looking out from the lobby. We have, for the first time since the building opened in 1985, we're replacing the entranceway to make it much more ADA accessible. There is a revolving door going in the center. It's actually coming in tomorrow, which is in that circle that you see there. If you go to the next slide, Abby, I think the other slides might show, the framework now has been installed just in the past few days of the entranceway itself. New doors. There's temporary glass in there. It's not the permanent glass, but it's opened up that vestibule significantly larger to make both doors ADA accessible on both sides of the revolving door. Is there one more slide, Abby, with the front entrance? Yeah, okay. So all kinds of surprises when you take away some of the original brick front that's 41 years old. But there is a whole new frontispiece that's being put up on top of the doorway, which is an add-on at our request, because a lot of the stuff that was in there, again, had significantly been outdated. We wanted to make sure that structurally we were improving the whole thing when we opened up the space. So I am sharing, I'll try to keep these in slightly as chronological order as I can here. And I'm going to be getting to the big, the relocation stuff at the end. The entrance, as you see, as we are using it, will still not be accessible for the next couple of weeks. That is a very active construction site. So any access to the Cowan Center is going to have to be occurring through the lower cafeteria out on the back side. There is a rush that's still, they're working weekends to get this done for us this week and into next. But for the next 2 to 3 weeks, this is still going to be a very active site. So the whole landing spot out front. Is there one more, Abby, that shows the lift out front? I don't remember if the next slide has the whole landing. No, the landing at the top of this staircase is still covered with construction scaffolding and that Versa lift that you see there. So that front entrance will not be in use still for a few weeks to come. So I'm going to close the loop in a little bit with the IDS conversation, but no matter what, we won't be using the front way for a little bit. So if you step to the next slide, you're going to see what it looks like inside our lobby right now, which Dylan, I hope you're hiding off camera here, because that's Dylan and Cass's workspace in the front lobby. Excuse me. It's been moved a little further back now towards that back pole, but all the ductwork and all the wiring overhead has been underway now for weeks. The tiling is going to be restored within the next few days over near the elevator, but the building inspector still has to access some of the, and the electrical inspectors still need to access some of the wiring ports above the entryway towards the front of the building. So some of that grid work is going to remain open, but there should be no foot traffic up in that front part of the desk anyways. We're going to have some safety stanchions in place. We'll allow people still to get access to the food pantry, obviously, but because that vestibule is still going to be a work site, and the open grids overhead will be in place for another week or two. So we're going to get most of the tiling replaced starting tomorrow and Thursday. But for right now, it's still going to be a little unsightly right by the front entrance. Go ahead to the next slide, Ed. Yeah, that's just more of the same. Yeah. So that's what it looks like in front of the elevator. Now, I don't know if some of you at some point over the last month and a half or so have gone in to retrieve certain items that you've had to get from your offices. I will tell you that having gone there yesterday to just take a walk through with some of the contractors, the building temperatures on the higher floors especially are dangerous and they're unhealthy. It's extremely, extremely hot on the top floors of the Cowan Center. The ground floor is okay because it still has some fresh air moving through the open vestibule and the back cafeteria entrance. But because no doors or windows can open, there's no fresh air that's circulating on the upper floors. So I know that some of you have checked in at the public safety desk out back to go and retrieve stuff. We cannot stress enough, if you're doing that, you are in and out of that space because it is not a healthy temperature for you to be in. Go ahead to the next slide, Ed. Which brings us to the roof. So we decided to do everything at once because it felt like it was easier to tackle all the WAPR projects simultaneously instead of parsing them out one at a time. So this is what required us to vacate the Cowan Center on July 6th. The series of pictures you're going to be looking at, we put in new roofs on the top of the Cowan Center, on the top of the lower CAF, and over the loading dock area. Excuse me. And we've also had to replace and gut the entire existing HVAC system throughout the building. So on every floor, especially up on the 5th floor, you're going to see some significant duct work that's been pulled down. They've gotten rid of multiple dumpsters full of the old work to install all of the new work. And really what you're going to see in the next few slides is you're looking at what's called a DOAS, a dedicated outdoor air system. This is now one of several pieces that is up on top of our roof, which brings the fresh air into the building and recirculates to get our air conditioning and we'll be getting our heat on back when the fall and winter comes along. Next. So right now, these views were taken this morning. That view on the left is a whole new room that's been built up on the roof, heading out into where the DOAS is located. That's only accessible through the locked area on the other side. For those who don't know, here's a little fun trivia fact you can take away from today's critical conversation. We actually have a 7th floor at the Cowan, but it's a secret floor that only has HVAC and elevators and mechanicals up on it. So there's nobody got an office up there as of yet, but that's the new area that's been built heading directly out into the DOAS setup. Next slide. these are the pieces of the equipment. So which these don't look sexy or fun or any kind of exciting, but let me tell you, these are the most important pieces of this whole project. And as you'll see from the, I think the next slide, these were we had some of the largest cranes that I've ever seen in progress, bringing these units up onto our roof. This is what closed the lot completely to foot traffic and even the contractors for several days while they lifted these pieces up there. It took place over a span of about 6 days to get all of these, all of the DOAS, and I think on the right there, that's just some of the duct work that was being lifted up last week. Next slide, Ed. And that's for those of you, for my fellow denizens of the 5th floor up in Cowan. That's what it looks like outside the elevator space. Phil has asked maybe that we keep this in place. This will keep people from getting into the president's suite if we keep those ducts there on the floor, but that's a debate that remains to be seen. But that's kind of what it looks like throughout the whole 5th floor. Ceilings have been pulled down everywhere, and all the old ductwork has been taken out with these new pieces being installed. Next slide, please. Which brings us to, every once in a while, we get these little surprises that pop up during our annual heavy rainfall, if you will. The Cowan Center is built over a series of aqueducts that come from the Eastern Canal and go out into the Concord River. And for those of you who've been with the college for any number of years, know that during COVID, we started to experience a number of issues with sinkholes because the folks that own the locks and canals have drained the canal, and as such, all of the aqueducts have been exposed to the air for months and months at a time. So there was some crumbling that's occurred under the parking lot, which is just what you want to hear when we've got the biggest cranes we've ever had on campus in history coming into our front lots. So we've been contending pretty regularly with some sinkholes, including, as we have one this morning that we're dealing with, where we have a company that comes in to restore the fill that's in those areas. But every time we're getting significant heavy rainfalls, which we've had a lot of lately, it's washing away some of that fill. So this is my way of saying that whatever version is coming out the other side of this project when the front lot is returned to us from other construction vehicles, there's still going to be a significant reassessment of what we are going to allow to be happening in that front lot for vehicular traffic, not to mention pedestrian traffic. We want to, obviously, safety is the paramount concern here. We want to make sure that we're not allowing too many vehicles into certain areas. We're going to certainly be closing off parts of the lot. We have had conversations that Phil has led about looking at some potential greening of that space as well. But we have to make sure that it's going to be something that we don't have a continuous issue with the sinkholes. But they have been occurring throughout this whole summer to make the project even more challenging and exciting. So I think that's it for the slides, but I wanted to get into the real meat of the conversation. Is there another one? Oh, yeah. That's just from above, just to show you some perspective on where it's occurring. So that whole area, we ran out of caution tape. So at one point it says police crime scene tape. Just ignore that because Officer Maloney had some in the back of his trunk, but it was not the kind we needed. So it's not a crime scene, I promise you. It's just a broken pavement. Is that it on the slide, Zeb? Anything else? Okay. So that leads into really the biggest part of this conversation that we want to talk with all of you about and share the updates and developments because, as Phil said, we are at the stage of these projects now, which we're getting daily updates because it's mission critical time for so many things that we have happening for on tap for not only for the fall semester, but for this summer. So you've heard it before because we talked about it in the spring, but there was some of these outside contractors that we're dealing with at one point had looked at doing this work in January, which we had told them no because it was going to impact and would have had a serious impact throughout the entire spring semester. So we pushed it off to June 1st. So June 1st was the new start date for all of these pieces of the project to occur. And here we are on August 11th. And we're up against the 11th hour to get some of these things across the goal line. So it has been, and I tell you this because the contractors and the subcontractors who've been doing this work have been working weekends. They have been, working some longer hours, knowing that we've imposed some of these deadlines on them, and we are proceeding apace. So what I want to share with everybody is I want to echo what Phil said at the very, very beginning of this. Cannot possibly thank the folks who were involved with helping us move an entire building of personnel, whether it was down here to Bedford or over to Talbot, where we had people in the art center. But primarily what we wanted to do is to keep student services running. So we moved everything lock, stock, and barrel over to the federal building. And I know I've been getting daily texts from some of you about some parts of the building it's so cold, some parts are stuffy. I cannot tell you how much we appreciate what you've endured for having to work in these temporary spaces. Some of you are sharing 2 and 3 to a suite or an office. But the operations that you set up specifically in the assembly room, in the hallway of the federal building, and throughout the library itself, and the second floor is where the call center is located, are nothing short but of absolutely magnificent transition. For an after action, we're going to document how we went about moving an entire building of personnel during the summer, yet still kept all of those trains rolling to be allowing students to come in to enroll, which I've seen every single time I pass through the federal building lobby. You folks are servicing potential students right there on the spot. So it's exceptional work that's been done by all, and I know it's been done under some adverse conditions, depending on the temperature and or the rains we've had, and the fluxes up and down the spectrum here of what this summer has provided. But I am happy to use this conversation today to say that the end is in sight. And so this is really a news flash and an update for most people on this call who've been, really trying to keep everything in place while getting ready for the fall semester. I know a number of you had approached me at the barbecue last week asking for an update, and I promise you nothing's being kept from you, but everything is changing daily. So we had our latest construction meeting was this morning. We're using one of the classrooms over at the federal building to do those. And so what we talked about last week at the President's Leadership Council meeting, we wanted to make sure that we had a plan B in place for what would happen if this didn't happen, or what would happen if this wasn't ready, or what would happen if we missed this deadline. And very specifically, what we were focused on in terms of chronological order is that next Monday we have IDS classes and orientation that are scheduled to begin in the Cowan Center. And we mobilized actually right on the spot on Wednesday, and we've been dealing with it. I know a number of you are on the back and forth on email since then, to come up with a plan B on where we would potentially relocate all the IDS classes if we displaced them into federal. And then that was going to impact some of the IEI classes that are in federal, and they needed some computer labs and such. So the great news, and hopefully if we can get those emojis clapping, as of this morning, the DOAS and the new air conditioning system in Cowan are being turned on tomorrow. And what that means is that we need 2 to 3 days of letting the air recirculate throughout the building to get the temperatures back to normal. So what does this mean? Is Deb Barker on here? I don't know, because I talked to Deb earlier. As of today, unless there's a surprise or a catastrophic problem that occurs tomorrow, we will be able to hold our IDS classes in the Cowan Center beginning on Monday. I know there's 2 sessions next week, Monday and Tuesday, and then Wednesday and Thursday. We can still go ahead right now with Plan A of having those IDS classes and the orientation classes take place in the Cowan Center. So nothing needs to, all the Plan B, which don't get me wrong, I cannot thank the people enough who've helped get a Plan B in place. We have it ready if something were still to go awry here in the next 3 days, but we are on track to be able to get everybody restored back into Cowan for Monday. And since I don't have any of the contractors on the call, I will tell you that we gave them a deadline weeks ahead of what was needed, just so that they really kept their foot on the gas to get us to this point, so that we weren't dealing with this coming up against the first week of full classes in September. So for the IDS folks and the orientation folks, everything will be able to operate as planned, as your original plan, on Monday for the first 2 sessions. So whatever classroom assignments you've got, roll with it. And I'm sorry, I can't see. Is Deb on here?
That's fantastic. Deb is fine. Maria is very happy though, and so is the Office of Student Engagement. Thank you. I appreciate
Perfect.
that.
But there's a couple of caveats, and I just want to throw these out so everybody has all of this information. It's not deal breakers. It's just what we're going to have to roll with and understand it. Maria, very specifically, like I referenced earlier, we will not be using the front entrance. So we're going to be using the lower cafeteria entrance. So I know you usually use that for some of the orientation activities. There will be a constant flow of people, of folks accessing the building through that footpath from the rear entrance in. There is, okay, this is another announcement that Abby, I think she was getting it on newscaster for today's purposes. And this is very specifically for anybody who goes into the building to retrieve stuff. Tomorrow morning from 9 to 12, the Lowell Fire Department will be on scene doing some testing. There are no employees allowed inside the Cowan Center. So if anybody's been doing any work in there or trying to access stuff from 9 to 12 tomorrow, it's off limits to all personnel. It'll be on newscast. We're going to have officers at the public safety officers at the entrances to make sure, but that will not be available tomorrow. Maria, the other thing to keep in mind for the week after, the week of the 24th, okay, we've had to relocate the entire fire alarm panel, which was inside the front door, which now moved over near the loading dock and the bookstore. Okay, the fire department will be on scene the week of the 24th doing some testing with the alarm company. It will not be a disruptive long-term klaxon going like, it's just going to be quick burst of, and they're going to make announcements. It won't be anything that's going to, really interrupt the flow of things, but we're going to create some signage. And if there's I don't know how you do this, if there's a version of an email that you send out ahead of time to participants, we can include some language in there to let them know that there will be testing beginning on the 24th. That has to happen for us to be able to fully occupy for the fall semester on the 8th. So that's hopefully the good news on that front. So now the other part of it, which I want to say, and this is a conversation that you folks can break off into your respective areas or your staff meetings or what have you, but we should begin planning to move our employees back into the Cowan Center beginning on Monday, the 17th. Now, I say that because what I don't want is for everybody to show up at the back door of Cowan looking to access their spaces. We're going to be talking about this tomorrow at PLC to come up with a segmented exodus out of federal back into spaces. Our highest priority above all is going to be to get the 3rd floor restored to support whatever else is occurring on the 1st and 2nd floor. So we're going to be looking to maybe move the call center all as one. We maybe move enrollment all as one. We're going to try to bundle those operations and move everything one at a time. And so I'm just asking for you to have patience, because you might not be in the top 10 of those units that are going to be returning to Cowan. We're prioritizing the 3rd floor. And I will tell this, if you're working your way up, for my fellow denizens of the 5th floor, we are the last to be going into that space. Don't anybody be, really standing at the back door with your bags packed, waiting to move back in. The 5th floor will be the last of the floors to be occupied. We are gonna, the ground floor is being reopened anyways already. The 4th floor will be on the heels of the 3rd floor. So, each of the departments, like I said, PLC will be kicking this around a lot tomorrow. Should come up with a priority list because I want to make sure that however facilities is going to be helping to move, and IT needs to get some things in motion as well, that we've got the departments prioritized on who should come back first beginning on Monday. So our hope is that, over the course of Monday, Tuesday, and perhaps into Wednesday, we'll start returning everybody back into the Cowan Center. And with all that being said, everything is on track so that none of these projects will be lingering or impactful for September 8th when we really flip the switch and welcome everybody back. We are going to try to do some additional signage to just continue to apologize for the appearances during the construction thing while we're cleaning up. We're going to be doing some extra nipping and tucking to get some of the tiling back cleaned up again. As you can imagine, there was a significant amount of dust and debris that was kicked up on the ground floor. We're working on getting that restored fully within the next week or two. So, Maria, I'm happy to work with you or whoever you want to identify to help with some messaging. However, I'm not sure how you do that, but we're happy to kind of lend some info to the message itself.
Yes, please. And also, just as you're funneling everybody in on that Monday, if we could have a separate area where the new students are gathered so we're not the flow of traffic.
Yeah, let me add to that. I mean, the important point is the number one priority on Monday will be as we gather and bring new students into the Cowan Center. We do not expect that other employees will be entering the building during that initial time. So there's a time, Maria, where you're all gathering and then students will go off into their classes. What is that time that students go off to their classes?
9:30 after hopefully you're welcoming them or some dean or
somebody is,
whoever.
That's for sure. Yeah. So 9:30, no one else will be entering the building unless you're an essential personnel. Don't expect to be moving back into the Cowan building at 9:30 because you want that common time for students as they're first entering the institution when they're gathering and getting to know each other and they're working with the orientation leaders. Let's make sure there's just essential personnel coming in during that time before 9:30. So I just want to thank Pat again and his entire team. I mean, this has been an incredibly lengthy and important project, one that will take care of the college for a very long time and certainly the Cowan Center. So I do want to thank him and his staff for all the tremendous work they've been doing, keeping us up to date, keeping the project on track. I want to thank Allie and Christina for all their work and conversation around grants and efforts around sustainability. We picked the parking lot that would be the most complicated because we would actually it would be a challenge because of getting people to not use the parking lot initially and what we're going to have to do next summer. But at the same time, the inconvenience is going to be worth it long term because that's the parking lot that really will make a difference for us. And then we'll be looking at other opportunities for other parking lots as we proceed. I'm going to say one last time that, like anything else, I just had some AC installed in my condo. And I'm still cleaning up. And they did it on Friday and Monday. And what I will say is that whenever you walk back into a construction site or any project that you've had in your own home, not everything will be perfect. Not everything will be as clean as you would like it. But we are going to be re-entering our Cowan home beginning on Monday after we've welcomed new students. So we appreciate your patience. We appreciate your observations of things that we may not be seeing, and that you communicate with us effectively around those. And again, want to thank you for all the tremendous work that you've done. The fact that we are this far along and 80 some odd, 83, 84% of our enrollment goal for this fall, even though we've been through this tremendous project and we've had to move the enrollment center and everything, all of our direct student services during a critical time. The next couple of weeks are going to be a critical time as well. So we really encourage you and thank you for your patience. Continue to stay focused on the students that we serve and the work that we do and why we're doing all this. And we're then going to open it up to your questions, and I'll turn it back to Beth to facilitate those questions, and any of us will try and jump in and give you any assistance that you may need. But thanks for the great information, Pat.
Thank you, Pat and Phil. We did have one question that came in before I opened the chat, and it's from Nick. Are students being messaged at the end of this week with info about entering Cowan? Will the announcement in my MCC be removed on Monday?
So yes, we are going to be dealing with new messaging. And again, I cannot stress this enough. This changes daily. This came out of a meeting at 9 o'clock this morning, this update. So this is the first, even most of the folks on PLC have heard this news, but we are coming up with new messaging that's going to be talking specifically now with a bullseye on getting us open and restored on Monday. So again, Maria, I'm happy to work with you and somebody from your shop on the app side of it, but Beth or Caitlin or somebody from downstairs can also help with any of the language. We are going to do some additional signage as much as possible, but if you've got any suggestions on a good way to the best way to reach that group, if you've got it already assembled, listserv or something.
We do. We're actually in communication with all the sections right now with the new students, so we'll be able to kind of communicate that with them via email, calls, and text. So all our orientation leaders will be messaging them as well, and I'm sure we can get some signage around to guide them. And our OLs are human signs, so we'll get them in the door.
Yeah, they do a
Yeah,
great job getting students to the right place.
Maria, that's really important. I know that they do this, on the normal course of events and a regular summer. We're going to need all hands on deck for this one for Monday to go over the top with this. Before Kayla's got a question. Before I grab that one, I just wanted to. There's two things I wanted to flag simultaneously. Is that this shouldn't surprise anybody that our facilities folks have been pretty well tapped this summer, trying to just keep up with, and I mean daily or hourly surprises that have been happening with this. So there are a number of things that have come through School Do that might be might have been followed by some of you, whether it's some office moves or some paint refreshing. Those things have all taken a back seat to making sure that we can get past Monday. I'm not saying that some of the stuff still cannot happen this summer, but we got 3 weeks to go essentially to get some of these projects done. So we're just going to ask for some patience on some of these things that we normally would have had on our summer list of to-dos are going to get kicked into the start of the fall semester. And with that, I wanted to toss it. I think Sue, I'm looking on my screen here. Vice Provost Sue. There you are. Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry. Go ahead.
All right, thanks. What a great welcome to Middlesex. This is amazing. I love a great HVAC conversation, and I really mean that because what I'm seeing as I'm stepping into the college, and hi to folks who haven't met me yet. I'm Sue Majoni. I'm the new provost. Is how amazing everyone is at working together as a team, and I've been really impressed with that. I want to echo what I've already heard. Thanks to Pat and Promote and their teams in doing everything they can to get these classrooms up and ready for the start of the semester. What they haven't mentioned is all the other work they've been doing in getting ready, all the other classrooms. You saw the work that's been done in Henderson. There's been work done in North Academic. I just want to give a shout out to their teams as well for working on the classrooms that need to get ready for the start of the semester. And as you know, their priority right now is getting Cowan ready for classes starting this week. So for faculty who have offices in Lowell, this is for you. We're asking all faculty who have offices in Lowell to not anticipate going into their office, to using their office until August 24th. We need to have that time again to make sure the classrooms are ready. You heard Pat talk about how that fifth floor is going to be the last floor that's open for business, but it also impacts faculty who have offices in other buildings in Lowell because we've got temporary staff who are in those spaces now, and it's going to take time to get everything back in place. So if you need to access something from your office to prepare for courses, please reach out to your dean or public safety for that quick access to the office to get what you need to get started. If you're working on your syllabi and you want to get them printed out, please use the copy center and work with your dean if you have any questions or concerns. But again, enjoy the summer and don't come to your office until August 24th. And I look forward to seeing you then. Thanks, Pat.
Also, before you jump in here, I know you patiently got your hand waving in the corner there. Our other new Vice President, Nicole, who's been working with the teams on the IDS and the student engagement relocation. No, my screen keeps moving here. Where are you, Nicole? Gotcha.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. I am Nicole Harris. It's a pleasure to be here as well. Want to echo thanks to Promote and the facilities team for everything that you've done to support folks who've been working over in federal this summer. Thanks to everyone in student affairs and our colleagues all across the campus who have been serving students. It has been an adventure, and we are looking forward to helping you make your way back into Cowan. So please be on the lookout. I will be working with the deans to identify the right sequence of events. I'll bring that to the PLC, and we will be communicating with you a day and a time that you can expect to go ahead and transition. So for now, just stay put, and we will be communicating with you, and I look forward to talking to you about that later this week. Thank you so much.
Anybody else want to get in front of Kayla before she asks the question? We're good?
Me,
Okay,
please.
Kayla, your turn, Kayla. Go for it.
Well, thank you for no. So I was just wondering, is this process going to remain the same with IT tickets to have things moved over? Most of the third floor folks do have laptops, so they can move as quickly as easily as anybody tells them they can. But as far as the technology, is it going to be the same process as putting in the IT ticket to have the second monitor over whatever those technology pieces back over to Cowan?
Okay, so in defense of IT, they're hearing the timing of this the same time as you, so
Okay,
I'll
all
toss
right.
it to Promote, who's going to do the dance quite nicely for us on behalf of
Yeah,
IT.
Kayla, I mean that would be great if we can,
Okay.
because that will help us, move the right stuff back to where it should go.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
Yeah,
Um,
I think the opportunity to manage this as efficiently as we possibly can. I know people are going to be anxious to get back into Cowan, but I do appreciate people's patience about working with their respective vice presidents and the deans in the area about the sequencing that Dr. Nicole mentioned. Really important to do this in the right ways because we do have some things that we're trying to make sure can operate. I know that also ACE has some important training that's happening on the 18th. So we want to make sure that they can get in and be prepared for what they need to do on that Tuesday. So we want operations that are really mostly impacting our students to be as smooth as possible as we have wanted for the entire process. I think Nick's point is also about communicating effectively with students that are coming in to register. So when those communications are timed out and how we make sure that there are students that are directed to the back of Cowan and back up to the third floor or wherever they need to go within the building, will take us a little bit of time to figure all that out. So I'm just going to continue to ask for your patience and working with your particular area. And again, I want to thank everyone who's done tremendous work from IT to enrollment to the facility staff, everyone that's been working diligently to do this as effectively as we possibly can. We're really grateful for all of your work. And we're at the finish line now. So let's make sure we do this in as orderly a fashion as we possibly can so that we're prepared. And really appreciate Sue's message, which is really designed for the folks over on Middle Street as well as Cowan and Federal, because those offices have been utilized over the course of the summer as a command central for some IT folks and for several folks that are usually in the Cowan building. Not everyone that's in Cowan can fit in Federal. So we've used both Talbot and Derby to be able to accomplish that. So while our folks in the health areas really want to get in and get to their offices and get started, I think it's perfectly reasonable for us to ask them to wait until the 24th so we can get everybody settled back in their offices. That still gives you 2 weeks before the beginning of the semester, and we'll do everything we can to support you to make sure that you're prepared for classes on time. If there are, faculty meetings that need to be held or any of that, we'll work hard to make sure that we can find you an appropriate space, but we really need to allow people who are already working in those offices to work every day to be efficient, to help everyone else. So this transition is going to be challenging coming from multiple buildings back into one building. So again, we're going to ask for your patience and your resilience, and we'll get through that first week, the 17th, all the way up to the 24th. and do it as effectively as we possibly can. But we do appreciate your patience, and we appreciate you working with people to make sure that we do this effectively and smoothly over the course of next week.
Phil, can I just add something for faculty in regards to the copy center? So our copy center only runs out of Lowell, and it is on the 5th floor. So Angelica, our amazing manager of reproduction services and copy services, has been living in Bedford for this time, and she has been able to complete most of the requests. I ask that you try and get everything in as soon as possible because I don't yet know when Angelica will be back running those hot copiers on the 5th floor. We do have a plan in place to either print them here in my department or to send some of them out if we don't have the capacity. But the sooner we know that, the sooner we can make sure that you have your copies on time.
Thanks, Beth. And that's a great message for Sue to be able to get out to faculty as well, so we can communicate about that tomorrow.
A couple of questions I saw kicking around. Kristen, on the Henderson bathrooms, every Monday we have a Henderson project update, Monday afternoon. As of yesterday afternoon, we are trying to get those restored this week. They're literally on a day-to-day basis. There's some tiles they're waiting for arrival on, but they know that that's the highest priority now of the to-dos to check off. So they, again, as of yesterday afternoon, they were hoping to get something back in place by Thursday and or Friday of this week. Pramod, you're going to have to listen to Jeopardy to get the sound you're going to hear during the fire alarm testing. It's just that's when you get an incorrect answer. So it's going to be a quick buzz. It won't be a long standing klaxon, but it'll just be a quick alert.
I do not see any other messages in chat.
No, there's a nice comment about Dean Karen, and we all know exactly the work that's happening. Sorry if we didn't mention anyone individually. All of your areas should feel super proud of what you've had to do to be able to serve students. If we didn't mention your name or your area today, we apologize, but we do recognize that this has been an incredible collective effort, and thank you for all of your work to get us to this point.
Yeah, I got to give a shout out to the Top Donuts or whatever it is that's getting dropped there on Mondays in time for these meetings too. Whoever's bringing those in and leaving them on the end of the hallway there, your efforts have not gone unnoticed, so they're appreciated there.
I think that was a shameless ploy for more Top Donuts, but it's all good.
Take it as you will.
You got it. Any other questions or comments? Folks, I'm gonna say thank you to everyone once again. If we haven't said it once, we've said it a million times. Very few institutions go through this kind of turmoil this close to the beginning of a semester with such a level of high stakes and importance for the beginning of the fall semester. And yet here we are. Your cooperation has been incredibly important to our ability to achieve what we need to achieve. And we know that we'll be ready for our students when they come to us this fall, and that's thanks to all of your hard work. If you have any individual questions, you can certainly get to me or Pat or Allie anyone's presented today, but I would encourage you to wait for assistance from your individual vice president or dean for any specific sequencing of moves. And with this, I just want to say thank you very much for participating in another critical conversation. We hope you enjoy the remainder of your summer if you're getting away still, but we're getting down to crunch time now. We'll be serving students very soon as this Monday for those brand new students. So excited to have them on campus, excited about an incredible fall semester, and that thanks to all of you. So have a great rest of your day, and thanks for participating today.